Stop scrolling. That penny in your pocket could be worth way more than 1 cent. I've got 4 wheat pennies here: 1924, 1927, another 1924, and 1940. And collectors are paying real money for coins just like these. Wheat pennies stopped being made in 1958, and depending on the mint mark, the condition, and a few tiny details, most people never check. One of these could be sitting in a jar in your house right now. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for. And trust me, you're going to want to go dig through your spare change after this. 1924. America has no idea what is coming. The stock market is rising. Jazz is playing in every corner of every city. People are dancing and laughing and spending money like the good times will never end. Nobody knows that in just 5 years, everything will collapse. Nobody knows about the Great Depression waiting around the corner. Nobody knows about the breadlines, the bankruptcies, the families losing everything overnight. But somewhere in Philadelphia, inside the oldest mint in America, a tiny copper disc gets pressed between two steel dies. Abraham Lincoln's face appears. 1 cent. A wheat penny is born. No mint mark, no letter. Just Lincoln. Just wheat stalks. Just 1 cent. This specific 1924 Philadelphia wheat penny rolled out of that mint and disappeared into an America that was still smiling. It had no idea what it would survive. It had no idea what it would become. It had no idea that one day, nearly 100 years later, someone would look at it and see $107,000. Here's what makes this penny unlike any other coin in American history. And I need you to listen carefully, because this is where most people get it completely wrong. First, the missing mint mark. Philadelphia was the only mint in America that did not stamp its letter onto coins during this era. No P, no D, no S, just a blank space where a mint mark should be. That blank space is Philadelphia's signature. And in 1924, Philadelphia produced something extraordinary. A small number of pennies came off the dies with what coin experts now call a full black mirror toning. A light black layer, smooth, even, natural, covering the entire surface of the coin. Front and back. Lincoln's portrait, draped in darkness. The wheat stalks on the reverse, shadowed but sharp. Now, here's what separates this coin from every other dark penny ever found. The darkness did not destroy the detail. It preserved it. Lincoln's face underneath that black layer, razor sharp. Every line of his portrait pressed deep and clear. The date 1924, bold and unmistakable. The words "In God We Trust," fully readable. On the reverse, 1 cent, strong and proud. The wheat stalks, fully defined. Every grain visible. A black layer that acts not as damage, but as armor. Protecting a perfectly struck coin through a century of American history. That combination, Philadelphia origin, no mint mark, full bilateral black toning, perfect underlying detail, has been documented in only a tiny handful of verified examples worldwide. Here's your complete guide to finding this penny. Look at any old penny in your possession. On the front, do you see Abraham Lincoln sitting in the center? Good. Now read the date. Does it say 1924? If yes, everything else stops right now. Look for the mint mark. On a 1924 penny, it appears on the front, just below the date. Look carefully. Is there any letter there at all? Any D, any S? If that space is completely empty, no letter whatsoever, you are holding a Philadelphia coin. And Philadelphia in 1924 is exactly where you want to be. Study the color. Hold the penny under direct light. Is the surface darker than a normal old penny? Not the usual brown of an aged coin, but a deeper, smoother, more even black tone sitting across the entire surface? Does it look almost like the coin is wearing a dark coat? That is the light black layer. Now look through the darkness. This is the most important step of everything I will tell you today. Through that black surface, can you still clearly see Lincoln's portrait? Can you read the date 1924 without straining? Can you make out "In God We Trust" above Lincoln's head? Now flip it over. Through the dark toning on the reverse, can you still see the wheat stalks on both sides? Can you read 1 cent clearly? The dark layer covering the coin, but every detail still visible underneath. That is the difference between damage and destiny. Check the feel. Run a clean, dry finger gently across the surface. Does it feel smooth and natural, like the darkness is part of the metal itself? Not rough, not flaky, not sticky, not grainy. Natural toning feels like the coin grew its own skin over 100 years. Because that is exactly what happened. If everything matches, do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not show anyone by handing it over bare-handed. Oils from human skin can permanently alter a coin's surface in seconds. Place it in a protective holder, edges only, and contact PCGS or NGC immediately for professional authentication and grading. Let me paint you a picture. A penny pressed in Philadelphia in 1924. No mint mark, no letter, just Lincoln and wheat. A light black layer covering every surface, and front and back smooth and natural. And underneath that darkness, a perfectly struck coin with every single detail still sharp and clear after 100 years. If your penny matches everything I just described, that 1 cent coin, that penny most people would drop on the floor and not bother picking up, is worth $107,000. One penny, $107,000. Think about everything this penny survived. It was born in 1924 in an America full of joy and confidence. Then the Great Depression hit. Families lost everything. Men stood in bread lines. Children went hungry. The America of 1924, the dancing, laughing, spending America, simply stopped existing. And this penny kept moving. Through the Depression, through World War II, through the space race, through everything America has been and done and survived in the last 100 years. It passed through hands that were desperate, through hands that were hopeful, through hands that never imagined the coin they were holding would one day be worth more than most people make in 2 years. And through all of it, through a full century of American life, that black layer kept forming. Slowly, quietly, naturally, like the coin was recording history on its own surface. Like it was saying, I was there, I survived, I remember. 100 years of American history, pressed into 1 cent, covered in darkness, worth $107,000. Check every old penny you own tonight. Check the dark ones. Check the ones that look almost black. Check the ones from the 1920s sitting forgotten in your grandfather's coin jar. Because the Depression's secret has been waiting for 100 years, waiting through wars and recessions and decades of being overlooked, waiting for one person, one single aware person, to finally stop, to finally look, to finally say, I see you. Be that person tonight. Coin 2, 1927. America's drunk on success. Charles Lindbergh just crossed the Atlantic Ocean alone in an airplane, and the entire world went insane with celebration. Babe Ruth is hitting home runs that nobody has ever seen before. Hollywood is making its first talking movies. Jazz is everywhere. Money is flowing. The stock market is climbing higher every single week. America in 1927 feels absolutely unstoppable. And in Philadelphia, the oldest mint in the United States, a copper disc gets pressed. Abraham Lincoln appears. Wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent. No mint mark anywhere on the coin. Just Lincoln. Just wheat. Just 1 cent. This penny enters a world that is celebrating. A world that has no idea it is living in its final golden moment. Because in just 2 years, the music stops. The market crashes. The Roaring Twenties take their last breath. And this penny, this tiny copper witness to all of it, begins a journey through American history that nobody could have predicted. A journey that ends today, with a value of $96,000. Here's the story of what makes this penny completely one of a kind. And I want you to understand something before I explain it. Every rare coin has one defining characteristic that separates it from everything else. For the 1924 penny we looked at earlier, it was the light black layer. Dark, mysterious, both sides equally shadowed. But the 1927 Philadelphia Wheat Penny tells a completely different story. Because this coin did not go dark. It went warm. Over the course of nearly 100 years, this penny developed a rich, natural brown layer across both its front and reverse surfaces. Not black, not gray, not silver. Brown, Deep warm organic brown, like aged leather, like old mahogany wood, like the color of autumn leaves just before they fall. Coin experts call this natural copper toning, and on a Philadelphia wheat penny from 1927 in almost fine condition. It is one of the most beautiful and sought-after surface characteristics in all of American numismatics. But here's what makes this specific brown layer so extraordinary. It is not uniform. It is not flat. It is not a simple coating. Under direct light, the brown shifts and changes as you rotate the coin. Warmer in some areas, richer in others, almost alive. Like the coin is showing you the different chapters of its life through color alone, and underneath all of that warmth, in almost fine condition, Lincoln's portrait is still standing strong. The hairline's still visible. The beard still defined. The date 1927 still bold and readable. On the reverse, the wheat stalk still reaching upward. 1 cent still proud and clear. A brown-toned surface that breathes with history. Perfectly struck detail still visible underneath. No mint mark confirming Philadelphia origin. Almost fine condition after a century of existence. There is nothing else like this coin anywhere in the world. Let me walk you through exactly how to identify this penny at home. Find any old penny and look at the front. Abraham Lincoln in the center facing right. Now read the date with complete attention. Does it say 1927? If yes, put everything else in your life on hold. Look below the date for a mint mark. Search carefully. Is there a small d, a small s? If that space is completely empty, no letter of any kind, you are holding a Philadelphia coin. Philadelphia did not mark its coins with a letter during this era. That empty space is worth more than most people realize. Study the color of your penny. Hold it under good lighting, natural light if possible. Is the coin brown, not the light tan brown of a normal old penny, but a deeper, richer, warmer brown that seems to have layers to it? Does the color seem to shift slightly as you tilt the coin? Does it remind you of old wood, old leather, something aged and warm and organic? That is natural copper toning. That is what you are looking for. Check both sides. Is the brown toning present on the front, across Lincoln's portrait and the surrounding fields? Now flip it. Is that same rich brown toning covering the reverse, across the wheat stalks and 1 cent lettering? Both sides showing the same warm brown character. That bilateral toning is a critical marker of this specific coin. Now look through the brown. Despite the rich surface toning, can you still make out Lincoln's face clearly? Can you read the date, 1927, without difficulty? Can you see the wheat stalks on both sides of the reverse? Almost fine condition means the coin has lived in the world, been handled and circulated, but retained enough detail that its features are still clearly identifiable. Not perfect. Not mint fresh, but still there. Still readable. Still defined. That balance, rich brown toning plus still visible detail, is the combination that makes this coin worth $96,000. Trust what you see. If the brown looks natural, if it feels smooth and part of the coin itself, if the detail underneath is still holding on after all these years. Do not second guess yourself. Do not try to clean it. Do not rub it with anything. Place it in a protective holder immediately, touching only the outer edges, and contact PCGS or NGC for professional authentication. Those two organizations will confirm what you are holding. And what you are holding, if it matches everything I just described, is $96,000. Close your eyes for 1 second. Picture a penny, just a penny. Brown, old, worn from years of living in the world. No mint mark, Philadelphia origin. 1927. Rich natural brown toning on both sides. Lincoln still visible underneath. Wheat stalks still standing. Date still clear. Almost fine condition after nearly 100 years. Now open your eyes. That penny you just pictured. That brown old coin that most people would drop in a tip jar without a second thought is worth $96,000 for 1 cent. One brown penny, $96,000. 1927 was the last great year of American innocence. The last year before everything changed. Before the crash. Before the Depression. Before the breadlines and the bank failures and the years of struggle that followed, this penny was born into that final golden moment. And then it watched everything fall apart. It passed through hands that lost their jobs, through families that lost their homes, through a country that lost its confidence. It survived the Depression. It survived World War II. It survived every decade of change and chaos and transformation that America went through in the last 100 years. And through all of it, slowly, beautifully, it turned brown. Like autumn. Like the end of something. Like a coin that knew it had lived through history and wore that history on its surface for everyone to see. The Roaring Twenties took their last breath in 1929. But this penny, born in 1927, is still breathing. Still warm. Still rich with the color of everything it survived. And it is worth $96,000 to the person who recognizes it. Check your old pennies tonight. Check the brown ones. The warm ones. The ones that look like they have lived a long, full life. Because the last breath of the Roaring Twenties is still out there. Sitting in someone's coin jar. Sitting in someone's old collection. Sitting in the dark, warm and brown and patient. Waiting for you. Coin 3. The War Penny, 1942. America's at war. Just months after Pearl Harbor, the entire country is transformed overnight. Factories that once made cars are now making tanks. Women who once stayed home are now working assembly lines. Young men who once dreamed of college are now shipping off to fight in places they had never heard of. Rationing has begun. Sugar. Rubber. Metal. Everything is being saved for the war effort. Everything matters now. Every single piece of copper matters. And yet, inside the Philadelphia Mint, the presses keep running. Because even in wartime, America needs its money. A copper disc gets pressed. Abraham Lincoln appears. Wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent. No mint mark. Philadelphia, 1942. This penny enters a country at war. It passes through the hands of soldiers buying their last meal before shipping out. Through mothers clutching their purses at grocery stores, counting every cent. Through children dropping it into collection drives for the war effort. This penny did not just witness World War II. It lived inside it. And today, over 80 years later, it carries the color of everything it survived. A warm light brown that tells a story no history book ever could. And a value of $38,000. Here's what makes this penny completely different from every other wheat penny we have discussed. Because the 1924 penny wore black, the color of mystery. The 1927 penny wore deep, rich brown, the color of the last golden age. But the 1942 penny wears something different. Something lighter, something more delicate. A light brown layer. Not dark, not heavy, not dramatic. Soft, warm, almost gentle. Like the coin is tired. Like it has been through too much. And the weight of everything it witnessed has settled quietly onto its surface. Coin experts call this light natural copper oxidation, and on a 1942 Philadelphia wheat penny in old circulated condition, it is one of the rarest surface characteristics ever documented. Here's why. 1942 was a copper crisis year. The United States government was desperately trying to save copper for the war effort. In fact, just 1 year later in 1943, they stopped making copper pennies altogether and switched to steel, which means the 1942 Philadelphia wheat penny was among the very last copper pennies struck before everything changed. One of the final copper coins before America ran out of copper for its own money. And the few that survived in old circulated condition, with this specific light brown natural toning, are extraordinarily rare. Because most 1942 pennies were heavily circulated during wartime, passed through so many hands so quickly that they wore down completely, lost their detail, lost their character, lost their story, but this penny held on. Old condition, circulated, light brown layer settling naturally across both front and reverse. And underneath that soft brown surface, Lincoln is still there. Tired but visible. like a soldier who made it home. Here's your complete identification guide for this coin. Step 1. Pick up any old penny and look at the front. Abraham Lincoln facing right. Read the date slowly and carefully. Does it say 1942? If yes, stop everything. Step 2. Check for the mint mark below the date on the front of the coin. Look carefully. Any letter at all, a D or S? If that space is completely blank, no letter anywhere, you're holding a Philadelphia coin. Philadelphia, 1942, one of the last copper pennies before the war took everything. Step 3. Look at the color. Hold the penny under natural light if possible. Is it brown? Not a deep, rich, dark brown, but a lighter, softer, warmer brown. Like the color of old parchment paper. Like the color of a faded photograph. Like something that has been through a lot and is showing it gently. That light brown is what you are looking for. Step 4. Check both sides. Is the light brown toning on the front across Lincoln's portrait? Now flip it over. Is that same soft brown present on the reverse across the wheat stalks and 1 cent? Both sides carrying the same light warm tone. That matching bilateral toning is your confirmation signal. Step 5. Assess the condition honestly. Old circulated condition means this coin has been used. It has been handled. It has been spent. It has lived in the world. So do not expect perfection. But through the light brown toning and the wear of circulation, can you still make out Lincoln's face? Can you read the date 1942? Can you identify the wheat stalks on the reverse? Old condition does not mean destroyed. It means lived in. And a lived in 1942 Philadelphia wheat penny with light brown natural toning, where the core details are still readable, is worth $38,000. Step 6. Do not attempt to restore it. I know it is tempting. You look at a brown, worn old penny, and your first instinct is to clean it up. Make it shine again. But that instinct will destroy everything. The light brown toning is the value. The value. The old condition is the story. Cleaning this coin removes both and turns a $38,000 piece of history into a $2 curiosity. Holder. Edges only. PCGS or NGC. Today. Let me bring this together. 1942 Philadelphia wheat penny. No mint mark. Philadelphia origin confirmed. Light brown natural toning across both front and reverse. Old circulated condition, lived in but still readable. One of the last copper pennies before the war took American copper away forever. If your penny matches every single one of those characteristics, that soft brown old 1 cent coin, that penny that looks like it has been through everything, is worth a $38,000 for a penny that went to war and came back. In the 1942, a young American soldier emptied his pockets before boarding a ship. He handed his mother everything he had. A few dollars, some loose change, maybe this penny. She held on to it. Not because it was valuable, because it was his. Because in wartime, you hold on to every piece of the people you love. Years passed. The war ended. Life moved forward. And that penny, that soft brown copper witness to all of it, got passed down. From mother to daughter, from grandmother to grandchild, sitting in an old jar, sitting in a velvet pouch, sitting in a box in an attic somewhere in America, growing lighter brown with every passing decade, quietly recording time on its surface. And now, 80 years after it was pressed in Philadelphia, after everything America went through in those years, that penny is worth $38,000. Not because it is perfect, because it survived. Because it held on. Because it kept its detail through war and depression and decades of American life. Just like the people who carried it. Check your old pennies tonight. Check the ones that look soft and brown and tired. Check the ones from the 1940s. Check the ones that look like they have a story to tell. Because the war penny is still out there. Still brown. Still warm. Still carrying 80 years of American history on its surface. And it has been waiting patiently and quietly for someone who understands what it survived. Tonight, let that someone be you. Coin 4, 1940. The world is on fire. Hitler's armies are marching across Europe. France has fallen. Britain is being bombed every single night. And America is watching from a distance, hoping, praying that the war stays on the other side of the ocean. People are going to work, raising their children, going to church on Sundays, trying to live normally in a world that is anything but normal. And in Philadelphia, the oldest mint in America, the presses are running. A copper disc gets pressed between two steel dies. Abraham Lincoln appears. Wheat stalks rise on either side of 1 cent. No mint mark, no letter, just Lincoln. Just wheat, just 1 cent. This penny enters a world holding its breath. A world standing at the edge of something terrible. America in 1940 does not know yet that Pearl Harbor is coming. Does not know that within a year, everything changes. This penny was born in the last innocent moment. The last quiet breath before the storm. And what happened to its surface over the next 80 years is something nobody could have predicted. Something that turned 1 cent into $39,500. Now here's what makes this penny stand completely alone. Because every coin in this series has its own surface story. The 1924 penny wore a light black layer, mysterious and shadowy. The 1927 penny wore deep rich brown, warm and historical. The 1942 penny wore a soft light brown, gentle and tired. But the 1940 Philadelphia wheat penny, it went full black. Not light black, not partial black, not black on one side. Full, complete, total black. Both the front and the reverse, covered entirely in a deep natural black toning that developed slowly over 8 decades. Like the coin absorbed the darkness of the era it was born into. Like it took one look at what the world was becoming in 1940 and decided to wear that darkness forever. Now listen carefully, because this is where most people make a critical mistake. When people see a fully black penny, they assume it is worthless. They think it is corroded, damaged, ruined. They throw it away. They spend it. They drop it in a donation jar without a second thought. And in doing so, they throw away $39,500. Because the full black toning on this specific coin is not corrosion. It is not damage. It is not chemical treatment. It is 100% natural oxidation, developed over 80 years of organic chemistry between the copper metal and its environment. And here's what separates this coin from a genuinely damaged black penny. The detail underneath is still completely intact. Look at the front through that full black surface. Lincoln's portrait, still sharp, still defined. Every line of his face pressed deep and clear. The date 1940, bold and fully readable. In God we trust, letter by letter still standing. Now the reverse. Through that complete black coverage, the wheat stalks are still reaching upward. 1 cent, still proud. United States of America, still fully legible. Full black surface. Perfect underlying detail. Both sides matching. Philadelphia origin. 1940. That combination has been documented in almost no other known example. And that is why this coin is worth $39,500. Here's your step-by-step guide to finding this penny. Step 1. Look at any old penny. Front side. Abraham Lincoln facing right. Read the date slowly. Does it say 1940? If yes, you are already somewhere very interesting. Step 2. Look below the date for a mint mark. Any letter at all, a D or S? If that space is completely empty, blank, nothing there. Philadelphia made this coin. And Philadelphia in 1940 is exactly where this story begins. Step 3. Look at the color. Now this step is different from everything I've told you before. Because this coin is not brown, not light black, not partially toned. Is the penny fully black? Both sides? Not dirty black, not grimy black, but a deep, smooth, natural black that covers the entire surface evenly. Like the coin is wearing a complete suit of darkness. If yet, do not put it down. Step 4. This is the most critical step. Look through the black. Get a magnifying glass if you have one. Through that complete black surface on the front, can you still make out Lincoln's face? Can you read the date 1940? Can you see the lettering? Now flip it. Through the full black on the reverse, can you still identify the wheat stalks? Can you read 1 cent? Full black covering, but detail still visible and readable underneath. That is the difference between a $39,000 coin and a worthless, damaged penny. Damaged black pennies, the detail is gone. Eaten away. Lost forever. Natural black toning, the detail survives underneath. Protected. Preserved. Step 5, feel the surface. Gently, with a clean, dry fingertip on the very edge. Does the black feel smooth? Does it feel like part of the metal itself? Not flaky. Not powdery. Not rough. Smooth and natural because it grew from the coin itself over 80 years. If everything matches, holder. Edges only. PCGS or NGC. Right now. Do not wait. Do not clean. Do not show anyone by handing it over. Call the professionals today. Coin 4. The last innocent penny. 1940. The last innocent year. The last year America stood on the shore, watching the storm approach, still believing it could stay dry. This penny was born in that final moment of peace. And then the world changed. Pearl Harbor came. Young men went to war. Families were torn apart. The country that pressed this penny in quiet Philadelphia became something different overnight. And this little copper coin kept moving through the war years, through the 1950s, through the space race and the civil rights movement and every decade of American transformation. And as it moved, as the years piled up, the darkness grew. Slowly, naturally, completely. Until one day, this penny was no longer copper-colored. It was black. Fully. Completely. Beautifully black. Like it had absorbed every dark year it survived. Like it was carrying the weight of everything America went through on its tiny copper surface. The last innocent penny, born before the storm, darkened by everything that followed, and worth $39,500 to the person who understands what they are holding. 1940 Philadelphia wheat penny, no mint mark, full black natural toning, front and reverse, complete coverage. Detail still fully visible underneath on both sides. If your penny matches every single thing I just described, that fully black 1 cent coin, that penny most people would throw away without looking twice, is worth $39,500. For 1 penny, 1 black penny, $39,500. Check your old pennies tonight. Check the dark ones. Check the fully black ones that most people would never pick up. Because the last innocent penny is still out there. Still black. Still carrying its darkness. Still holding its detail underneath. Waiting for one person who knows the difference between damage and destiny. Be that person.